Hello. I want to welcome all of you to another hour of some of the stuff that is hard to find anywhere else except right here on this radio station and this radio show, the Universal Consciousness Show, the show for the thinking global citizen. And we try to entertain you once in a while, and we educate you, open your mind, and we just throw the door wide open sometimes, and we're going to do that today. And my name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts. My whole co-host Diana is over in Germany, but she got stuck working tonight, so she's not going to be able to be with us. So we're going to miss her, but we'll do the best we can without her. And first of all, for those of you that want to listen to this show again, you will find it where we archive the shows at www.universal-consciousness-show.com. And we are on YouTube under Universal Consciousness Show. And please subscribe to us. That's going to help us a lot. We're also on Facebook under me and the Universal Consciousness Show, and on Twitter, and just about everywhere else that the station puts it out there, probably about 6 or 7 at least different platforms that we are running on. So you'll find us out there. And also remember, this station is member and listener supported. So while you are on the website listening to this show, wander over to and click on the donate button and help out with whatever you can, because that will help us to stay on the air. Late Night in the Midlands is one of the, in shows like that, is one of the last bastions of freedom and real news and education out there. So we gotta make sure that we are able to continue this education process and make sure that we have our voice in the community here. And today we are going to have a couple of guests with us, and really exciting shows waiting for you here. We have Kevin and Jennifer MALEK. Kevin is a paranormal historian and also the founder of the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. He's also a ufologist, a field investigator with the UFO Wisconsin research team. He is a conspiracy analyst for Ultimate Conspiracy and Apocalypse. I hope I spelled that right. Apocalypse Nation. Now, Jennifer MALEK is a psychic, a demonologist. Boy, that's an interesting term. We want to hear more about that because there is some strange stuff out there. And she is the demonologist with the NWPS, that's Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. She's also the Wisconsin representative for the PWSM, that's the Presidium Warrior for St. Michael, and a remote viewer for the project of it's called the PSI Institute of Chicago. And they're working on missing persons, missing children, and cold cases to find solutions and resolve for the ones that kind of fell through the crack when it came to the law enforcement and government. Kevin and Jennifer both run the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. I've been to Rhinelander. It's kind of a remote place. Good skiing up there, though. They are contributing writers for the Supernatural magazine and are the hosts of the global internet radio show Paraversal Universe. And I've been a guest on there, too. And that paranormal universe, Paraversal Universe, is on the Late Night in the Midlands platform, just as we are here. They have been interviewed and features on shows like Coast to Coast AM, Fade to Black, Beyond Reality, Demonology Today, Skywatchers Radio, Monster X, Paranormal Zone, TV, Paranormal Soup, Darkness Radio, Campfire Tales, and NBC News, and a lot of other ones. So welcome to the show, Kevin and Jennifer.
Welcome. Thanks for having us, Aage.
Yes. Hello, and thank you for having us.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, you guys are busy. Man, oh man. I'm glad you could come on so we got to talk a little bit. I've learned over the years, though, that being a radio host, we don't get much airtime a lot. So this is an excellent way to get to know you, what you do, and hear about all the interesting stuff that you're involved with. So tell us about that. Start somewhere and start pulling on the thread and see what comes out.
Okie doke. Well, I guess at the heart of everything is the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, charity. We help families and individuals who have paranormal activity. We file reports, and we also, I guess at this point, I would say we specialize in malevolent cases and whatnot. But anybody who is either traumatized or upset or harassed or whatever the case may be, whether they got a Sasquatch looking in their window at night or they think they've been abducted. We cover 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained. And so we're quite diverse. And we have different affiliates we work with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we have, of course, the Presidium Warriors of St. Michael, which Jennifer is a member of. The Wisconsin UFO Research Team, which was founded by Mike Lucas, who was, when I was with MUFON, Mike was the state director for MUFON in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
We both left MUFON. He's a member of the NWPS, and we are members of the UFO Wisconsin Research Team. So that's pretty cool.
All right. Now, you just said something. If a Sasquatch is looking in the window, man, oh man, I know in Wisconsin there are stories of these creatures having been seen. Have you been involved in anything like that?
I actually, yes. For me, one of my paranormal experiences in my life, one of certainly the most significant, and it was actually the catalyst for founding this society. And this was shortly before the experience happened shortly before Y2K. And me and a buddy were riding down a road. It was Saturday. It was a Saturday morning, like 10:30 in the morning. It was hottest day of the year, happened to be. Sunny day, hot. We're cruising on a county trunk highway up here in the North Woods, and we come around a corner, and a figure comes up on the shoulder and starts crossing the road. And right away, I was in the passenger seat, and I nudged my buddy and go, "Hey, look, it's Bigfoot," joking, thinking that it was a hunched over old man carrying 2 5-gallon buckets, and the 5-gallon buckets were swinging from side to side. By the time the figure crossed the highway and went back down and then up into the woods, we had closed probably half the distance on it, and we realized that this was all the same color. It had crossed the highway in like 4, maybe 5 steps. Really unusual.
Wow.
So my buddy stops the car where it crossed, and we look into the woods, expecting to see something, anything. I expected to see like a trail or a driveway or something, and an old man carrying 5-gallon buckets. And I could say, oh, for a minute there, I thought it looked like Bigfoot. But that wasn't the case. There was no man-made anything. There was no trail. There was no, and it was just woods. And if you know county trunk highways up here, the undergrowth, uh, a lot of these highways, they don't have the sides cleared out, so the woods comes up to the highway kind of.
Yeah.
And so if had somebody been carrying anything like that, they would have been crashing through this undergrowth. We didn't see anything moving. It was like whatever we saw had either one spread eagle on all fours on the ground so it couldn't be seen, or it had walked into thin air. There was nothing was moving around, and the 5-gallon buckets turned out to be its forearms. That's the arms go almost all the way to the ground. Like I said, this thing was striding. The arms were swinging side to side. And we realized, you know, my buddy looks at me and goes, should we go in there after it? and I'm like, are you crazy? You see how big it was? It will kill us.
Oh, man. Yeah, I wouldn't either.
So that was my, you know, and by that point, of course, I was raised with open-minded, thinking outside of the box kind of parents. My mom also collects books on the unknown and unexplained. She had piqued my interest early on in that. So by the time I had this experience, it was amazing. It was like I couldn't believe that there were Bigfoot actually existed and was up here. I mean, I was open to the idea, but actually seeing one, we figured it was so hot that on that particular morning it was. And when we got home, we looked at a map to see the direction it was walking, and it was going right towards the closest water hole. So we figured, because it was over 100 degrees that day, and for up here in Wisconsin, it doesn't happen too often.
No.
You know, years can go by without a 100-degree day. Years can go by without a 90-degree day.
Yeah.
So we figured this poor animal was probably so hot that it was out when it normally wouldn't have been. It took a risk when it normally wouldn't have been. We were downwind. We came around a corner, you know, and we were flying pretty fast, probably 70 miles an hour. I remember being nervous because my friend was driving so fast on this county road. You know, you're in your mid-20s, you know, the sunroof's down, you're flying around, you know, having a good time. It's the last thing you expect to see, and so that changed my paradigm a little bit, and that's when you know, like, yeah, I wanted to join a society after that, and there was none up here. So the thing to do was to start one, and that's what happened.
Boy, oh boy, what an experience! If that wouldn't wake you up, nothing would. When you see something like this.
Yeah, and we tried to, you know, all the way home we were talking about it, like, what could this be? Because we tried to debunk this, like, you know, could it be a bear? No, bears walk when you watch them walk, like when they have an injured paw, they're very stiff walking. Their arms don't sway side to side, and they don't go all the way to the ground. This was like, you know, it was striding at a purpose. It was going somewhere. And the other thing too is just how quickly it disappeared. You know, we both saw it. You know, we both got a good look at it. We were both, you know, like, it's daytime, it's bright out. We were sober. You know, had I seen it alone without him, my buddy, I don't think I would have ever told anyone about it. You know, but being that there was somebody with me, I knew I wasn't hallucinating or, you know, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's more believable too when there's two people seeing it. So yeah, I could see that. You know, this is something that a lot of people laugh at this, but I know, you know, I lived in Minnesota for 12 years, and I talked to people up there that had some strange stories. And at that time, you know, 30 years ago, I didn't really put much stock to it. But now I'm thinking back on it. And these people, they had sightings in Minnesota also. And I think there's a lot more of these, I guess we should call them animals, than we think.
Yeah. When you consider all the reports, like when you look at ufology, okay, for example, Newport, they guesstimate that one out of every 10,000 UFO sightings are actually reported to either MUFON or Newfork or a local law enforcement agency or groups like ours. 1 out of 10,000. Okay. I've had a couple UFO sightings. I'm a ufologist, and I never even reported them. You know what I'm saying? So I would think that Bigfoot sightings are probably, similar in numbers. They're both things that people can be ridiculed for seeing. They're both unknown and unexplained. So, and when you look at all the, we have over 100,000 Bigfoot sighting reports in North America alone.
Wow.
Now, if you consider the numbers and you figure, okay, 1 out of 10,000, that's if we use that number, it makes you realize how many people may have or actually have seen a Bigfoot, but just haven't come forward and told anyone. So it doesn't get reported. Nobody writes an article about it, because nobody wants, hey, I got this job, I don't want people laughing at me. I don't want ridicule. I need to be credible. And, I can't tell people I had a UFO over my house or I, almost hit a Bigfoot with my car or whatever the, different stories are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a strange world out there, and it's getting stranger by the day these days. And now you mentioned also you are a field investigator. For up in that part of the country, what are maybe the most exciting UFO incident that you have been involved with?
My most exciting incident, I would have to say, is another personal experience I had. This experience was the most terrifying experience of my lifetime. A real unusual experience, and one I'll never forget. I was sleeping on a couch right next to this giant picture window. Again, it was summertime. It's probably, I want to say 2 or 3 in the morning. All of a sudden, my eyes pop wide open, and I turn my head and look right out the picture window. And I see this oval thing in the sky shooting back and forth. Probably the size of a quarter, if you stuck a quarter out at arm's length. Oval shape. I think it was probably rounder, but because it was going so fast, and it was going in different directions. So it would shoot one way, and then it would come from another direction, go flying by, and then a different direction flying by, almost like it was gridding something or looking for something. And it was traveling so fast, just shooting like pew, pew, pew.
Wow.
So there's a window open, and I can hear the neighbor's dog. And I can hear the neighbor's dog barking. And then it started whining. And right when it started whining, there's an aviary upstairs in the house I was at. They breed birds, parakeets, cockatoos, that kind of thing. And these birds have this thing that's called night fright. When something spooks them out, they'll start flapping their wings in their cages when the lights are off. It's really loud. It's kind of violent. I mean, they can break their wings and stuff, And all of a sudden, this room erupts in this night fright. When you got like 50 birds pounding their, all. And at that moment, I felt I was scared. I felt naked. I felt afraid and alone. And I felt like if whatever it was looking for, whatever it was, knew that I had seen it, it could do anything it wanted to me, and there'd be nothing I could do to stop it. I
Mhm.
got up, and I literally hid behind a lazy boy chair for a couple minutes, you know. A couple minutes
Wow.
later, I got enough guts to come out, look at the sky, and it's not shooting around anymore. I don't hear the neighbor's dog barking anymore. The bugs had returned, the sound of and the birds had stopped at that point.
Mhm.
And that was that. But whatever that was woke me. I mean, that was like my spidey sense went off in the middle of a deep sleep to say, Kevin, wake up, you're in danger. And I had my eyes just pop open, turn my head. And then again, I know this isn't just me because it's affecting other animals. I can hear the dog whining. I can hear the birds freaking out.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
It
So
was obviously real.
yeah, it was real. And yeah, I don't get to see ghosts like Jennifer, but I have had a couple UFO experiences, and three of them, three what I would call three significant, and they're all separate and apart from each other.
Yeah.
And then that Bigfoot experience, and that's as far as paranormal experiences go, them are the ones that really stick out in my mind. And none of them were from while we were investigating the paranormal. That's the irony, is that after the society's 10 years old now,
Mhm.
and there's I've been witness to paranormal things, but they weren't as momentous as these two stories I just laid on everyone. As true stories.
Yeah. So this light that you saw out the window, that was rather small.
Well, it wasn't. It was much bigger than planet size. Like I said, if you took a quarter, maybe even a $50, and to hold it at arm's length out to the sky,
Mhm.
that's the size it was.
Okay, so depends on how far away it was. If it was a half a mile away, that thing could probably be 20 feet across.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned something. The clouds were low that night. Like, I remember that about looking in the sky, is that as it was shooting across, it was like it was just slightly up into the clouds, and the clouds were lower. It wasn't like not low like thunderstorm low, but how like the clouds have different altitudes depending on the or the you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
so anyways, yeah, the clouds were lower at night. So what this was in our atmosphere. It was like I feel like again it was focusing on something down where I was, like in my neighborhood, or I don't know what it was looking for. I can't even tell. It wasn't even nuts and bolts. It was a light,
Yeah.
I can't even say it was a craft. It may have been an entity for all I know. Stop looking to possess someone or who knows what. But the way it pulled me out of a sleep and the way everything around me reacted and the way it made me feel. And I was like, I was an adult at that point,
Yeah.
so it's enough to, yeah.
It could have been all of those things, These plasma lights or whatever was inside of the light could have been physical as well. If you think back on the Second World War, these lights, they called them Foo Fighters. They were flying around the bombers coming over from England. They were flying next to them, and some of them even got into the airplanes and flew around inside the airplane before they left through the wall of the airplane and departed. So there is a technology there that is been around a little while, and it is far ahead of us for what we know.
Right. And whatever this was that night was certainly that.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it before or since.
Another thing that we should not discard thinking on, and that is that it could be a thought form, could be an entity, could be a spiritual something or other that was there and making itself known to you, maybe for the purpose of possibly waking you up to the fact that, hey, wake up, we're here. Start thinking for yourself. Don't listen to everybody else telling you what you should think.
Hey, that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, nothing's happened since then.
Mhm.
And I'm versed in the symptoms of alien abduction and whatnot, and
Yeah.
I don't fit the criteria. I don't feel I've been abducted or anything. The other two UFO experiences were different, apart from, they weren't like the same craft, or not craft light, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it would just say, but yeah, it could have been something so simple, right? Or it could have been something, looking for me or looking for whatever. Who knows? My impression was it was unholy. That was my impression. It was
Yeah.
evil. It was nefarious. It was malevolent.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I think so. I think so too, especially because of the color and the light. And if there are, hey, let's face it, there are negative entities out there.
right.
And they usually do not take on this kind of bright light form.
Exactly.
In my opinion, that we have these things called shadow people, and there are other things that it's usually of a darker color when it comes to the vibration of it, where maybe it's there are spirits, there are other things out there, but it's don't normally show up like this. I don't think so. This could have been technology or a higher vibratory spiritual entity that made itself aware of you.
Right.
I'm just theorizing here, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I also I want to talk a little more to Jennifer here also after we get back from a break that we're going to take at the bottom of the hour, and when we are on this subject, we just barely touched on the periphery of something like, I know you are dealing with demonology. And it's an interesting subject and very little understood. And I would hope that maybe since you are dealing with it a lot more than other people do, maybe we could talk a little bit about that after the break, because this is something that people have strange things happening in their house or in their life, and they really have no clue. And think maybe that's where you can come in as a help and maybe explain some of the things that is going on in their life, because I've had things happen too. And back then I was kind of without a clue. And you feel lost. So this is going to be interesting. We are just about down to the bottom of the hour. Maybe we could start the break maybe a minute early, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about some of these things.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello everyone, my name is Derek White Sky Cloud. I'm a psychic medium and paranormal investigator, and my show is called Between Two Worlds Radio on the LNM Radio Network. I'm on Tuesday nights from 9 o'clock to 11 p.m. Come and join me on the Pacific Time. We talk about the paranormal, alternative health, and other subjects that can actually mess with your mind. And you can join us on the LNM Radio chat room. Come and listen. We'll see you there.
What happened to the good old days when people were loyal and we all had fun without drama? Where every Saturday morning at 4 a.m. Eastern, we invite you to join Encounters with the Nearlies and discuss endless topics and throwbacks of the yesteryears, bringing back to you retro interactive radio to the fullest. And yes, you got it. It's Throwback Saturdays with your hosts, Dr. Darryl and Dr. Katie Neely, turning back the hands of the Father Time and bringing people back to a place of peace. So get down, get sassy, and get jiggy with us. Oh, just don't drink while you're listening, because we are not responsible for the damage that comes from spitting it out while you laugh. So join us on Encounters with the Neelys, exclusively on the LNM Radio Network.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Brittany's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day, people make me feel small.
Every day, I face the cruel words of bullying.
And every day, people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do. We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the eye.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, hello. And we are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking with Kevin and Jennifer Malek. are talking about opening up people's mind here and looking behind the curtain, because so there's a lot of strange stuff back there. And after the break here, I want to talk a little bit about both remote viewing and demonology, because of their experience and what they are helping people with. And I don't know which one of you want to take this one first, but you know, there is a lot of, both through religion and personal experiences, people are discovering that the world is not necessarily all what we have been told it is. And there is strange things, dark things out there. Maybe could we touch on demonology just a little bit? Maybe either one of you want to grab this one and maybe talk about what do we have out there outside of the physical that could be seen or observed or experienced?
Sure. I can talk about demonology for a little bit. I will back it up a little bit and say that I did grow up with psychic and mediumistic abilities, and I had family members that had the same abilities, and we had a really good support system. So growing up, I would see all different types of entities and beings. And when I wasn't seeing human spirits, I would occasionally see what are known as demonic entities or demonic spirits.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I wanted to know more and more information about them, you know, where they came from, how they work, you know, why do they have this animosity towards us that they do. So I would sit there and go through books, magazine articles. I would go through paranormal forums. I would watch TV shows that talked about the religious aspect of demonology, because I wanted to know more about that realm and those entities. And what prompted me to help people out was I had had a personal encounter, and it was a very physical one, and it happened years ago now. And I was living in South Florida at the time, and I had been called in by a paranormal team to do a medium walk of a home. When I got to this house, I instantly knew that something that was in that house was not good. You could just feel it. It just felt so heavy and so oppressive. It was like walking into this wall of just oppression. It was just indescribable. So I get in the house, and the team introduces me to the homeowners, and I proceed to do a walk around the house. Now, the house that I did the walk for had 2 floors. I walked around the whole entire floor. I didn't pick up anything. I started to make my way up the stairs, and the way the steps were, they had a number of steps, and then it had one big flat step before it curved into another set of steps. So I made my way up to the beginning of the second set of steps, and as I looked up to see where I was walking, I literally felt this rush of cold air hit me, and at the same time, I saw this 7-foot-tall, black, shadowy mass appear from nowhere out of the top, at the top of the stairs. This thing picked me up and threw me from where I was standing across the room, and I smacked right up against a wall. And the whole time that this is going on, I could hear this thing calling me names, telling me that it didn't have any right, I didn't have any right to come there because it was invited. And at this time, I had some of the team members helping me up, and we looked up to see what the homeowners were doing, and they were standing there laughing at me. So before I left, I said a few choice words. I said, you need to stop baiting people and trapping them. You know what is here. You don't need help. I said, if you do need any kind of help, you need Jesus. And it was at that point that I left. Now, afterwards, for a good while, this thing decided to follow me home, to the point where during the day and night, I would get attacked, I would get scratched, I would get pinned down to furniture. I would see shadows around the house. It got to the point where I called a priest to come in and do just a general house blessing. And the night that I called him and made that appointment, I was in the shower. Now I wear blessed St. Michael's and St. Benedict medals around my neck. I don't take them off. I never have. At this instance, I had them on a ribbon around my neck, and I was showering. In the middle of my shower, I felt the same cold air as I did when I was at that house. I got pinned up against the wall, and this thing proceeded to smack the snot out of me. My medals, I noticed when I looked down, were off of the ribbon, but the little pieces, the little clasps that go around the medals were intact. They were just off the ribbon. So the priest came in next day and did a general house blessing and got rid of this thing. And instead of me being afraid of it and running from it, I realized that there are people out there that are going through this stuff that don't have a lot of help. And so I decided to become a demonologist and help people in these areas. And a couple of years ago, I'd actually gotten lucky enough to get the mentor that I did. I can't mention his name at this time because he's kind of private, but he's retired. He's definitely well connected with the Roman Catholic Church. So that's how I got into demonology itself.
Wow, that was quite an experience. And I think you're right. There is more of this than we hear about because a lot of people may have it, but they don't dare to talk about it.
Yeah, it goes on a lot more than we're aware of. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the church, they'll tell you that they get thousands of cases a day. And it's to the point where for the last several years now, priests have been getting picked and sent over to the Vatican to take the courses and to train to become exorcists because there's so much going on with these demonic entities, more so than ever.
Yeah, and I know that the Catholic Church then, if you communicate with them and ask them up front if they have exorcists, they say, no, of course not. But we do know that they have a whole fleet of them, actually, that travels around the world and do these kinds of things. We get rid of negative entities in houses and institutions and so on. So, yeah, that is the real thing. And what do you think is the simplest and maybe most effective way to protect ourselves against entities like that?
Prayer. Having that plug in to God or whoever it is that you believe in, having some kind of a connection to Jesus, having a healthy, prayer life, keeping yourself safe. I mean, we do things even when we go out as a team to investigate. We have St. Benedict medals, that we wear or keep on us. We have them in equipment bins. I have people that we help out with cases when we get them that I give these medals to. We have medals over doorways. We have medals in vehicles because you can never be too safe.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. Prayer like that, yeah, it works. And it works for many different things, even for medical issues and protecting ourselves from entities like this. I think it can be very effective. Now, at the end of the show here, I want you to make sure that you let people know where they can reach you if they have problems like this. And also, I know you are a remote viewer, and I wonder, what is the difference between remote viewing and also being a very good psychic, which you also are? Is there a difference, or does it go to the same source?
Well, there could be a difference. When you do remote viewing, you can get psychic stuff from it, but it's mostly done from the scientific aspect, and using a program which we use when we do cases. It's called Fever. It takes you step by step on your remote viewing. so you know what to look for when you're remote viewing. Because when you do a remote viewing, and a lot of people don't realize this, remote viewing is actually wonderful. Anybody can remote view. You can find books, you can find DVDs, you can find CDs, you can find even online classes for it. You know, when you're able to remote view, especially when you work with cases like I do with Project PSI out of Chicago, you know, we deal with missing people in cold cases a lot. And we do actually use remote viewing, because it's like when you remote view, you can literally go back in time to remote view and get the details that you need for whatever case it is that you're working on.
Mm-hmm. What is the source for the information that you get? Is it what they call the Akashic records, or are you tapping into space-time where everything is recorded, or where do you think the information comes from?
I would definitely say space-time.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's accurate, and when you do a remote view, you do get a lot of details. You would be surprised at the results that you get when you remote view.
And I will think that the more you do of it, the better you get, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The more you remote view, you know, the better you get at it. The more you practice. It's, you know, it's practice, but it's worth it. And remote viewing could be fun. You know, when you're not working, when I'm not working the cases that we work, I will literally sit there and just pick random places and objects and people to remote view.
Now, I know you're working with someone in Chicago, as far as I can remember. You look for both cold cases and missing people and so on. What is the most exciting case that you've been on there that you've been able to do some good with?
It's a loaded question. There are so many cases that we work, and we had actually a case a couple of months ago where a child had gone missing, and they put out an Amber Alert, and we were actually able, through remote view and working together as a team, because I work with a team of remote viewers, to locate her and bring her home safely.
Can I step in for a sec and say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not a remote viewer. But as a paranormal historian, looking at the Project PSI Institute and what Dr. Chuck Kennedy has put together is really amazing. Because what he is doing is he has, I think it's 12 psychics from around North America. All are very well respected, accomplished, vetted. And what he does is he communicates with each of them. Let's say he'll get a case, and then he'll communicate with each of them, and he gives them just minimal information, like a name, an address, and like a little map. Okay, and then he says, do your stuff, you know, do your meditation, do your remote view, and then after they do that, then they give him the information, and they don't talk to each other. Okay, then what he does with the information is he puts it in his computer program matrix, and it picks out the commonalities between the 12 psychics, and anything that's got commonalities, it hands to the doc, and then he can take that information and give it to law enforcement. And when you do it that way, okay, like for an example, they had a case where there was like 4 psychics who had mentioned specifically a red building, a red barn on the edge of town. Okay, so he had, in turn, because they had come up, you know, and they had got several hits on it, he had told the detective that. Well, the detective, they went and they searched all the red buildings on the edge of town, and they found the missing persons. In fact, there was a few people that were, I guess, shackled or whatever. It was a human trafficking case. But that just goes to show the the potent and the power of this. When you get 12 people that really know remote viewing and have abilities, and you can take that information and put it through a matrix that can pick out commonalities, and then use them commonalities, knowing that that's the more relevant. Man, they have a good success rate, and you know, me stepping back, just looking at it and seeing how they operate and stuff, I think it's impressive. I think he's done a really great job with that.
Right, because you know, with the remote viewing too, the reason why we work through Dr. Kennedy is for our safety and our protection, because he's going to deal with the family and law enforcement. And if it turns out to be something involving human trafficking, he's gotten several death threats already. And so we work the way we do for a reason, and we have a good flow, and it works wonderfully. And it's something I love doing. It's something we love doing, being able to help families find answers, whether we're able to bring the person or persons home safely, or at least home enough so they can have a proper burial.
Yeah, there is a great need for this, and since there is a science behind it, and somebody is doing it all the time, I have heard that somebody gets really good at it. So people should just have fun with it. Maybe listeners out there, if you want to know more about it, of course you can contact Kevin and Jennifer, and also look at it maybe on YouTube and on the internet elsewhere, because this is something that I think everybody can do. Isn't that right?
Yeah, everybody could remote view.
Yeah, there are books written by military people that have done this for the military, and the military has got it down to a science.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're talking about.
You know, and another source that we use when we do this case work too is facial recognition software. So if, say for example, we get a case and we don't get a photo, we have the facial recognition to work with, the software. You know, I know that when I work cases from my end, the spirit, if the person in these particular cases are in fact deceased, will make contact with me in some way. And through that, I am actually able to use that software to sketch that person, or to sketch the person or persons responsible.
Oh, yeah.
And she's gotten matches too, uncanny matches. Like wow. You know, so she'll submit something, and then later on, after the case was been worked or whatever, and the doc will be like, "You won't believe this," and they'll take her picture, and then they'll show the picture of whatever, and it's like, wow. So I've seen a couple pictures that were just like, hey, that's awesome. And and she can use that with the Paranormal Society too.
Yeah.
If she gets, if we're, let's say, working a case and she gets an impression or has interaction with the spirit or a ghost or whatever, she can then come back here, and it's like having your own personal sketch artist, basically.
Yeah, we're finding there's another world outside of this physical, and there's all kinds of neat stuff happening and going on in there, and we can learn more about that. You see, we have a couple of 2-3 minutes left of the show here, so the floor is yours. Maybe tell people where they can find you, where they can connect with you, anywhere in the world now with the internet as it is, and also maybe whatever else you want to tell the people that is looking into possibly getting more involved in the paranormal. Where should they maybe start?
Okay, first of all, you can find us on Facebook at Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited. The link to our website is there. That's at the heart of what we do. We have we have several like pages. I'm not going to name them all, but they all can be found if you go to that one like page. We also host Paraversal Universe on the LNM here at the Radio Network, and we're on Fridays from 5 Eastern to 7, and we will be on today. We'll be doing the Paralogian report, so catch that in a couple hours. And you can go to our webpage too at LNM Radio Network, and on our webpage, it's got our bio and about the show and the times, and it's also got a list of the links that we're involved with, different affiliates, projects, whatever. It's all there. That's a good place to find out about us and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all. Yeah.
I was gonna say really quickly, you can find me on Facebook under Jennifer Malek, Psychic Demonologist. If you have any questions regarding demonology or remote viewing, I would be glad to answer them for you as best as I can.
Okay, that sounds good. And you mentioned also that you are a 501c3. So if people want to help you get more work done, to maybe help you with travels and so on, they can donate. I suppose you are set up for donations, aren't you?
Well, at the moment, we are setting up a new PayPal account.
Okay, that's good.
So,
because
yeah, it's important.
yeah, and
we take donations, and if nothing else, people can send a check or money order to NWPS, or the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society.
Yeah.
And all funds get used for case investigations, helping other families, gas miles, travel, all of it. So, and
that is tax deductible.
Yes, it is. If you make a donation, because we're 501c3, you can deduct that on your taxes.
Yes, that's wonderful. Okay, well, I think we're down to the end of the show here, and I had a lot of fun. This was interesting, and like we say, being a host, we don't get much airtime, but let's do this again in a few months, and there's so much more to talk about.
Yes, there is. We just scratched the surface.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. And then we will see you next week with the Universal Consciousness Show. And until then, take care of each other.